The battle over Jantar Mantar protest has entered a new phase. This time, the spotlight is on the violence that erupted during the demonstrations. Two images came to define the crackdown: unarmed students allegedly struck by pellets and an AK-47 wielding policeman deployed on the streets of Bihar. First, let's talk about the pellet controversy, a claim that Delhi police initially dismissed as fake news. Today, Times Now has accessed a general diary entry from Parliament Street Police Station that challenges that official version. The entry records that Rapid Action Force personnel fired 2 rounds from an anti-riot launcher on the orders of a Deputy Commissioner of Police. A total of 7 pellets were discharged, with 5 reportedly striking protesters. The controversy echoed in Parliament today as well, with Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav likening the police action to an emergency-like crackdown.
क्या आतंकवादी हैं, टेररिस्ट हैं? हाँ, कांग्रेस बोल रही है, जवाब दीजिए। कांग्रेस बोल रही है, जवाब मांग रही है, जवाब दीजिए। किसने ऑर्डर दिया पैलेट गन्स चलाने के लिए? किसने ऑर्डर दिया?
Students whose only crime was to ask government the right questions and those who were believing in merit. The government offered them barricades, danda, police lathi charged. Pellets, guns were fired on them, tear gas. This government seems to believe every protest is a conspiracy.
मैं इमरजेंसी को तो नहीं देखा हूं, लेकिन इमरजेंसी में क्या-क्या हुआ है वो अभी दिल्ली की राजधानी में भी देखने को मिल गया। आंसू के गैस के गोले और लकड़ी में लगा हुआ कुछ कील का और कांटे की चीजें, उस समय करंट नहीं लगाया जाता था, इस बार करंट लगाया गया।
However, unlike the emergency era, law of the land is still taking its course. Hearing petitions on violence during last week's protests, the Apex Court called for a fair and independent probe into allegations of injuries suffered by both students and the police personnel as well. The Supreme Court has also barred coercive action against student protesters, but with a key caveat. The protection applies only to students with no criminal record. The order, however, has drawn a sharp response from the CJP. Its spokesperson Saurav has termed the court's order wholly unacceptable and warned that the protest will resume if the FIRs against all students are not withdrawn. The question now is this reasonable defiance or is this arrogance?
एक जो की डिमांड था वो था कि एफआईआर सारे विड्रॉ होंगे सारे प्रोटेस्टर्स के खिलाफ एंड फ्यूचर में भी कोई ऐसे एक्शन रिटेलिएटरी मेजर कोई भी एक्शन सरकार नहीं लेगी। सुप्रीम कोर्ट बोल रही है कि जिनके ऊपर एफआईआर्स है पहले से उनको मत छोड़िए, तो वो हमें मंजूर नहीं है।
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's open this up. Tonight we're joined by Kiran Bedi, former Lieutenant Governor Puducherry and retired IPS. We have Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow IPCS. Namisha, a student activist, joins us on the broadcast. And we also have Neetu Singh, educationist. And with everyone's permission, I want to first go across to the student activist. And I want to try and understand what's so wrong about the observations of the Supreme Court. Any innocent individual should not be punished and should not suffer. So the Supreme Court says that students who do not have a criminal record, action will not be taken against them, release them. And what is the problem in taking action against those who have criminal antecedents? Nimisha, do go ahead.
I am absolutely not in denial of that. In fact, I am more in favor of that. I am rather more flabbergasted with the fact that why is CJP trying to stop those people who were once accused of POCSO, who were once murder accused. Not just that, even out there on the protest site that day, I've been going to the protest site for almost 3 to 4 days. And just to bring a rectification, I'm no longer a student. I was a former student activist, but I think that still continues because I'm working in that same line of with the youth and the students in different colleges. And not just me, a lot of my, fellow colleagues and women, we were out there. And one thing, it happened while 4th day on 24th of July, that was a Friday, out of nowhere, I don't feel ashamed to say this because this needs to be told. There were men out there who were giving you inappropriate touch, who were just touching you out there from the back and just smiling at you, the audacity to smile at you and still go away because they know that nothing will happen to them. They'll just go get mixed up with the crowd. There were people out there who were going and passing up blur comments and extremely sexist words that I can't even tell you right in front of female police. How is that even fair? When CJP says that we do not want any kind of actions taken, are you trying to say that these are the people who are the torch bearer of what you stand for? Are you kind of protecting them? Are you kind of trying to safeguard them? This is rather where even I do not understand what exactly they want. And I really think that, forget about state government and everything, there should be a strong kind of action taken place that nobody in the name of freedom of speech, freedom of expression can do this to anyone.
So Neetu Singh, is CJP, their leaders, failing to make that distinction between innocent protesters, student protesters with no criminal record and those who have been accused of serious charges, serious crimes? Is CJP leadership failing to make that distinction? And is this just arrogance?
Ma'am, I would like to tell the student activist, Namisha, I think her name is, that as far as inappropriate touches are concerned, this time, I did not find any of my students complaining against any of the boys who were present in the protest. So I think her allegation is not founded anywhere, and this is absolutely something that I will not agree to. Second thing,
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you.
Something just because you have no knowledge of.
I need to interrupt you. Nobody.
Can you dismiss something just because you don't have knowledge of?
You haven't been. That is being privileged. That is exactly what you do, victim blaming.
And I have not found any such allegation by any of the girls.
Ma'am, you are neither court nor you are there.
Ma'am, this is something that is absolutely wrong because they were protesting.
And who are you to decide that?
For their rights. Ma'am, let me finish.
So who are you to decide that?
Secondly, if you have said that they have criminal records, ma'am, I was the torchbearer of such a protest last year in July. We had only 40 to 50 teachers peacefully marching towards DOPT. And then a case, an FIR was filed against all the teachers. Second time, when we were sitting on the protest, for a protest, on the 30th of August, I think the date was, we had the permission to sit there up to 5 p.m. But because of certain personal reason, I left the site at 4:30. Still an FIR was filed against me. And even when I told the IO that I was not present there after 5 because of certain personal reason, he tried to find out my location. He found out that my location was nowhere near the
absolutely wrong.
Even then he said,
if that has happened to you without you breaking any law, then that's absolutely wrong. Nothing, something like that cannot be justified. But ma'am, just because your students did not come to you and complain of harassment does not mean no one in that protest did not go through that.
Ma'am, but you can.
And the Supreme Court also has said, yes, everyone has the right for peaceful protest. But yes.
That doesn't give any right to the courts also to say.
Then you allow the courts to play a role there, man. I'm saying allow the courts to play a role. If the courts also can't say anything about that, then who will take a call? But let me bring in Miss Bedi. Let me bring in Miss Bedi. Miss Bedi, the Supreme Court has made it absolutely clear that there is no issue as far as students, minors who were protesting, and especially those who do not have criminal records are concerned. No action should be taken against them. But if there are antisocial elements, shouldn't the police act? Now, there's one other question that I want to ask you. There is a lot of criticism of high-handedness, of brutal force used by the police, and the initial denial that pellet guns were not used, which has been busted now based on the details of the diary that has come to fore. Your comments, ma'am.
First, on what the Honorable Supreme Court has said. I think Supreme Court, in its own wisdom, has given a very fair observation. It separated the violators and the people with criminal acts who've been a part of this assembly, which was declared unlawful. And the second is students protesting, but not using violence. Now, only the camera can decide. Because the investigation, courts will need camera evidence and other evidence. So when the police investigate it, it will have to produce what it says based on visual evidence. Now, visual evidence, if it shows face recognition, criminality, and use of violence, that would be Group A, which is probably the accused, which the police will be producing. And not those students, not those students, even though they became a part of the unlawful declared assembly, not those who did not indulge in violence, nor have been ways recognized for criminality. So I think very fair enough observation by the Honorable Supreme Court, and that we need to respect that. I would like to see this, it's respected. And by the way, I don't have a choice. I have only to have one choice, is to respect a very fair observation given by the Supreme Court. Secondly is about the force used. Look, I've been a propagandist, I've been a spokesperson for this, saying that this armed force should never be the first line of defense against a student protest. Never. The first line of defense should be preferably civil defense forces and the home guards. We have. They organized civil defense forces. We have home guards, and don't give them the sticks. Let this youth handle this youth, so that there is no cause for tandabazi and confrontation. Number one. Then even if that is overrun, I'm of the view that the second line of defense should be women cops. Let the young women cops deal with students, so that there is minimization of use of force. If first level of civil defense also overrun, women also overrun, and now both of them should be in proper armor, helmet, so that stone pelting.
I think that there are going to be some guidelines, perhaps a new framework, perhaps some reform in such cases as.
The last resort should be the armed force. So I think this is a colonial way we need to get out of it. It's a colonial way where the armed forces is the first line of defense. We must change this and get out of this colonial way of dealing with student protests. So I think if this happens...
Valuable suggestions coming in from your end, ma'am, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but as I near the conclusion of this particular debate, I just want to quickly go across to Abhijit Iyer Mitra. And Abhijit Iyer Mitra, this is what reports have suggested. Out of 2873 people with criminal antecedents, many of them have murder charges against them, 6 in offences under POCSO, 25 in molestation of women. I can go on and on about the criminal antecedents. CJP says Supreme Court observations are not acceptable to them, and they want blanket immunity for everyone.
It's very curious because two of their spokespersons, Ratna is allegedly a lawyer, and Saurav Das has failed his law exam 3 times so far. So obviously I don't expect them to get law, but the very simple fact is, any agreement between them and the government doesn't hold unless the Supreme Court first approves it. So their acceptance or non-acceptance of the Supreme Court doesn't matter. Tomorrow Modi can forgive some murderer after 2 years. The Supreme Court is not bound by it. They're bound by the law. So, the CJP is getting ahead of itself, number one. Number two, I was just appalled at the logical fallacy at the beginning of this particular debate. When somebody says that they were molested, apparently because it didn't happen to them, you can't generalize. But when somebody had an FIR filed against them, that should be generalized. What kind of logic is this? What kind of education is this? I mean, if you can't see a logical fallacy in your own argument, that's really shocking. I really pity the state of education in this country.
Abhijit Iyer Mitra, I have to wrap up the debate. In the garb of protecting or giving immunity to student protesters, innocent protesters, can we give a free run to those with criminal antecedents? And just because it did not happen to one person, can we negate the experiences that are being shared of harassment and molestation that is being reported by a lot of women part of the protest? Can we negate that just because it did not happen to a couple of people? Those are the questions I leave the viewers with. Thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast, and thank you to our viewers for watching us.